The Galactic Medical Station Serenity 9 was, without question, the pinnacle of interstellar healthcare. Dr. Kelvin Thresh made absolutely certain that everyone knew this, usually within the first 30 seconds of meeting him. 47 species, Kelvin announced to no one in particular, his four arms gesturing at the holographic display dominating his office wall. 47 distinct biological protocols, each catalogued, optimized, and executed with flawless precision. His upper left hand adjusted his medical insignia while his lower right hand smoothed his pristine white coat. The Quilichian species had evolved four arms specifically for multitasking, and Kelvin had elevated multitasking to an art form, mostly the art of patting himself on the back. The medical bay gleamed with sterile efficiency. Healing pods hummed in perfect harmony. The air filtration system maintained exactly 127 different atmospheric compositions across isolated treatment zones. Even the floor tiles were organized by reflective coefficient. Dr. Thresh! Pip's voice wobbled from the doorway. The Blorian nurse was essentially a mobile jellyfish in scrubs, and right now, those scrubs were quivering with anxiety. What is it, Pip? I'm reviewing our quarterly excellence ratings. We've achieved a 99.97% patient satisfaction score across all 47 species. I'm trying to identify the 0.03% who clearly have defective judgment. We've received a new assignment, sir. Pip's gelatinous form rippled nervously. A human. Kelvin's upper hands paused mid-gesture. His lower hands gripped the edge of his desk. A what? A human, sir. Species classification. Homo sapiens. From Earth. They're requesting medical protocol integration for our facility. Humans. Kelvin's mandibles clicked thoughtfully as he pulled up the species file. Ah yes, the bipedal mammals from that waterlogged planet in the Orion Spur. Recently joined the galactic community. How quaint. He scrolled through the medical data with growing bewilderment. This can't be right. Their homeworld gravity is 1 standard? That's absurdly high. Atmospheric oxygen at 21%? That's practically combustible. And their average lifespan is… Wait, they reproduce before, establishing full neural development. The file seems incomplete, sir, Pip offered, wobbling closer to peer at the screen. Incomplete? It's practically blank. Kelvin's voice rose with indignation. Pain threshold, varies. Varies? What kind of medical specification is varies? Anesthetic requirements, consult with patient. Consult with the patient. They're the injured party. They're biologically compromised. Their judgment is medically irrelevant. Pip made a sound like water sloshing in a bucket. It was the Blorian equivalent of a nervous cough. When does the human arrive, sir? Kelvin checked the schedule, his good mood evaporating like oxygen in hard vacuum. Tomorrow morning, 0800 hours. He stared at the woefully inadequate medical file. Fine. We'll do what we always do. Professional assessment, proper protocols, and absolutely no deviation from medical best practices. We've handled 47 species, Pip. How different could number 48 possibly be? The question hung in the recycled air of Serenity 9 like a curse. Pip said nothing, but if a gelatinous lifeform could look skeptical, Pip was nailing it. Jake Hoffman limped into Medical Bay 7 at precisely 0800 hours, which was impressive considering his left ankle was approximately the size of a grapefruit and the color of an eggplant. Morning, Doc. He flashed a grin that Kelvin's medical scanner immediately flagged as inappropriate given physiological distress indicators. Kelvin's four eyes widened as he reviewed the preliminary scan results flooding his display. Mr. Hoffman, please proceed directly to the emergency stabilization pod. You have a fractured rib, severe internal bruising, a grade 2 ankle sprain, and your cortisol levels suggest you should be experiencing significant trauma. Oh, this? Jake glanced down at himself like he'd just noticed he was wearing mismatched socks. Yeah, the cargo bay door kinda slammed into me during an artificial gravity hiccup. Totally my fault. I should have secured my safety line better. Should have. Secured. Kelvin's mandibles hung open. Pip! Initiate emergency protocols. This human is clearly experiencing shock-induced dissociation. Pip surged forward with a medical scanner, their gelatinous body sloshing with urgency. The device beeped 3 times, paused, beeped again, then made a sound like a confused chirp. Sir, the scanner confirms all injuries, but his neural pain receptors are. They're firing, but he's not. I don't understand the readings. Obviously, the scanner is malfunctioning. Kelvin grabbed a backup unit with his upper right hand while his lower left hand pulled up diagnostic protocols. No organism can sustain these injuries and remain ambulatory, let alone cheerful. It defies basic biological logic. Jake scratched his head, then winced slightly. Hey, I don't mean to be a bother, but do you guys have coffee? I skipped breakfast, and I'm running on maybe 4 hours of sleep. Also, where's your bathroom? That's a universal thing, right? Every species needs a bathroom? Coffee? Kelvin's voice hit a pitch that made Pip contract nervously. You have 3 fractured bones and you're asking about coffee. Well, yeah. I mean, they're not compound fractures or anything. Jake said this like it was a reasonable distinction, and technically it's 1 fractured rib and 1 sprained ankle. The bruising's just cosmetic, really. I had way worse when I fell off my bike in 7th grade. Bike? Pip whispered. What's a 7th grade? Kelvin demanded. Look, Doc, I appreciate the concern, but I've got a cargo shipment that needs to be rerouted by 1400 hours. Can we just do whatever needs doing and get me back on schedule? Maybe some ice and some of those pain pills? The normal ones, not the heavy-duty stuff. That makes me drowsy. Kelvin stared at Jake Hoffman with all 4 eyes. In his 73 years of practicing medicine across countless star systems, he had never encountered a patient who casually dismissed fractured bones as cosmetic. Mr. Hoffman, I need you to rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. Oh, Jake considered this with the same level of concern most people reserved for choosing a sandwich. Maybe a 3? 4 if I twist wrong? The medical scanner in Kelvin's hand let out an alarmed beep. According to its readings, Jake should be rating his pain somewhere around existential agony. Pip, Kelvin said slowly, his voice taking on the careful tone of someone whose entire understanding of biology was crumbling. Pull up every medical database entry we have on human pain tolerance. Pip's form rippled as they accessed the station's central computer. A moment later, they deflated slightly. Sir, there are only 17 entries. Most are flagged as requiring verification or patient assessment deemed unreliable. Unreliable how? One human reported a pain level of 2 out of 10 for what was later confirmed as a ruptured appendix. Another walked into a clinic with a broken leg and apologized for wasting the doctor's time. Jake nodded enthusiastically. Oh yeah, that sounds about right. My buddy Dave once got a concussion and finished his shift at the warehouse because he didn't want to leave his team short-handed. Threw up twice, but he's a trooper. Kelvin felt something crack in his psyche. It might have been his faith in rational biology. Mr. Hoffman, he said carefully, please lie down on the examination table. We're going to run every diagnostic test this facility has. Can I get that coffee first? No. 2 hours later, Kelvin had run Jake through every scanner, probe, and diagnostic instrument available on Serenity 9. The results were somehow worse than the initial readings. This is medically impossible, Kelvin muttered, his upper hands frantically scrolling through data while his lower hands recalibrated equipment for the 4th time. Your neural pathways are clearly transmitting pain signals. Your brain is receiving them. Your body is physiologically responding with increased heart rate and endorphin production. But you're just sitting there. Jake was, in fact, sitting there, legs dangling off the exam table, asking Pip about the station's recycling system. So you're telling me you can convert basically any organic matter back into usable compounds? That's incredibly efficient. Earth's still working on that kind of closed-loop system. Mr. Hoffman, please focus. Kelvin waved a scanner in front of Jake's face. I need you to understand the severity of your condition. Your 3rd rib has a complete fracture. Do you comprehend what that means? Yeah, it's broken. I got that part. And this doesn't concern you? Jake shrugged, then immediately regretted it based on the brief grimace that crossed his face. I mean, bones heal, right? My uncle broke 6 ribs in a car accident and was back at work in like 3 weeks. Didn't even take the full medical leave. Pip made a sound like a drain unclogging. He worked with 6 broken ribs? Well, desk work. He's an accountant. It's not like he was doing construction or anything. Kelvin's mandibles clicked rapidly, a Quilichian stress response. Pip, cross-reference human medical files with every pain-tolerance study in the galactic database. There must be an explanation. Perhaps they have redundant nervous systems? Or analgesic glands we haven't identified. Pip wobbled over to a terminal, their gelatinous form pulsing with concentration. After several minutes of searching, they turned back to Kelvin with what might have been a concerned expression. It was hard to tell with Blorians. Sir, I found something. There's a report. Here from Dr. Zillion of the Triangulum Medical Institute. He studied human pain responses during their first contact scenarios. And his conclusion was, and I quote, "Humans possess normal pain reception but appear to have culturally evolved and pathological resistance to acknowledging discomfort. Recommend psychological evaluation for entire species." That's absurd, Kelvin scoffed. There's more, sir. He documented a human female who gave birth, that's their reproductive process, and described it as uncomfortable but manageable. His notes indicate the process should have been catastrophically painful based on the Foster. Physiological stress markers. Jake perked up. Oh yeah, my mom always said I was an easy birth. Told me she was doing crossword puzzles between contractions. Kelvin felt a headache forming behind his primary eyes. He didn't even know coalitions could get headaches. That's not. Crossword puzzles are recreational activities. Birth is a medical emergency. Not for humans, apparently, Pip whispered, their voice carrying an edge of existential dread. Okay. Look. Jake held up his hands diplomatically. I get that this is weird for you guys, but humans just kind of deal with stuff, you know? My grandpa stormed a beach in World War II with a bullet in his leg. My aunt hiked 5 miles down a mountain with a broken collarbone. My cousin played an entire soccer game on a torn ACL because they were in the playoffs. These are not normal behaviors. Kelvin was gesticulating wildly with all 4 arms now. These are symptoms of severe neurological dysfunction. Or maybe, Jake offered helpfully, you guys are just really sensitive? The silence in Medical Base 7 was deafening. Pip deflated to roughly half their normal size. Kelvin's 4 arms slowly lowered to his sides. Somewhere in the station, an air filtration unit hummed. Did you just, Kelvin said very quietly, call the 47 other species in the galactic community sensitive? I mean, no offense, Doc. I'm sure your pain is very real and valid. Everyone experiences things differently. It's just that humans maybe have a higher, threshold? Like I once had 4 wisdom teeth removed and went back to work at my construction job the next day. 4 teeth? Pip's voice went up an octave. That's major oral surgery. They just numbed it up real good. Gave me some pills. I didn't even fill the prescription, honestly. Just used ice packs and took regular over-the-counter stuff. Kelvin sat down heavily in his chair. His medical degree hung on the wall behind him, mocking him with its proud certification across 47 species. 47 species whose pain scales apparently made sense. Mr. Hoffman, he said wearily, I need you to be completely honest with me. On a scale where 1 is no pain and 10 is the worst pain you can imagine. What's your 10? Jake thought about this seriously. Like kidney stone, while also having a migraine and you just bit your tongue really hard? That's probably a 10. And what's your current pain level? Still around a 3. Maybe a 4 when I breathe deep. The medical scanner on Kelvin's desk beeped helpfully, confirming that Jake's injury should be approximately an 8.6 on any rational pain scale. Kelvin looked at the scanner. He looked at Jake. He looked at his medical degree. We're going to need a new protocol, he said finally. Kelvin had treated species that breathed methane. Species that existed in 3 dimensions simultaneously. Species whose organs rearranged themselves based on lunar cycles. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for treating a human who refused to take treatment seriously. Mr. Hoffman, I'm going to realign your rib. Kelvin held up a medical instrument that looked vaguely threatening. This is a painful procedure. Standard protocol requires sedation and a 3-day recovery period in a medically induced rest state. Sedation? Like, put me under? Jake looked genuinely concerned for the first time since arriving. Yes, precisely. We'll administer. Nah, I'm good. Just do it quick. Kelvin's upper right hand froze mid-reach for the anesthetic injector. I'm sorry, what? I don't do great with sedation. Makes me groggy for days. Just like, do what you gotta do. I'll look away if it's gross. Mr. Hoffman. Kelvin's voice took on the strained patience of someone explaining gravity to a flat planet theorist. This procedure involves manually manipulating fractured bone tissue back into optimal healing alignment. The pain will be substantial. I cannot ethically perform this without proper anesthetic. Jake waved this away like Kelvin had offered him an unnecessary appetizer. Doc, one time I dislocated my shoulder playing basketball and my buddy just popped it back in right there on the court. This is basically the same thing, right? Pip made a noise like a bathtub draining. That's not even remotely the same thing. Look, I appreciate the concern, really, but I've got a high pain tolerance, and I heal fast. My species is kinda known for being stubborn about this stuff. Jake settled back on the examination table. Just count to 3 and do it. I won't sue or file a complaint or whatever you're worried about. Kelvin looked at Pip. Pip looked at Kelvin. Both of them looked at Jake, who was now scrolling through something on his personal datapad like this was a routine dental cleaning. The medical literature, Kelvin said slowly, mentions humans have something called adrenaline, a stress hormone that provides temporary pain, suppression, and enhanced physical capability. Oh yeah, adrenaline's great, Jake agreed cheerfully. Your body just kicks into gear and you can do wild stuff. My sister once lifted a piece of furniture off her cat when it got stuck. Furniture she normally couldn't budge. That's biochemically fascinating and psychologically horrifying, Pip whispered. Kelvin made a decision that would later haunt his professional career. He prepared the realignment tool, positioned Jake's torso, and said, on 3, 1, 2. He performed the realignment on 2, the classic doctor's misdirection. Jake grunted, went slightly pale, then took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, that wasn't fun. Like a 6 out of 10. We good? The medical scanner confirmed the rib was now properly aligned. Jake was already sitting up, rotating his shoulders experimentally. Pip had deflated into a puddle on the floor. You're not. You're just. Kelvin couldn't form complete sentences. His four hands gesticulated uselessly at Jake, at the scanner, at the universe in general. Little sore, not gonna lie, Jake admitted. Got any of those ice pack things? Ice really helps with inflammation. Oh, and maybe some tape or a wrap? I should probably keep this stable for a few days. A few days? A few days? Kelvin's voice cracked. You need 3 weeks of monitored recovery. Doc, I don't. I have 3 weeks. I've got cargo routes. I'll take it easy, promise. No heavy lifting for at least a week. Before Kelvin could respond, the medical bay doors slid open. A coalition patient rushed in, cradling one hand dramatically. Dr. Thresh, emergency. I've sustained a laceration. Kelvin glanced at the patient, then at his scanner. Mr. Quillox, that's a paper-cut equivalent. A minor epidermal. It's agonizing. I need immediate surgical intervention and at least 2 weeks of medical leave. Kelvin looked at the microscopic wound. He looked at Jake, who was now wrapping his own ribs with medical tape while humming tunelessly. He looked at Mr. Quillox, who was whimpering like his hand was actively dissolving. Something snapped in Dr. Kelvin Thresh's precisely organized mind. Pip, he said flatly. Get up off the floor. We have work to do. Sir? We're creating Protocol 48. Human medical treatment. And the first rule is going to be, disregard all patient. Self-assessment. Humans will lie. Jake looked up, slightly offended. Hey, I'm not lying. That's the problem, Kelvin shouted, his forearms thrown up in exasperation. In the corner, Mr. Quillox fainted from his paper cut. Jake offered helpfully. You want me to catch him? Sit down and don't move. Yes, sir. By hour 6 of Jake Hoffman's stay in Medical Bay 7, Kelvin's carefully maintained professional composure had completely disintegrated. The breaking point came when he found Jake in the physical therapy section, demonstrating proper squat form to a traumatized S-Lick warrior who'd checked in with a mild headache. You just gotta breathe through it, buddy, Jake was saying, doing bodyweight squats with fractured ribs that should have made breathing painful, let alone exercise. Mind over matter, you know? The Slick warrior, a species literally bred for combat over 6,000 generations, stared at Jake with something approaching religious awe. But the pain, the throbbing in my cranial cavity. Headaches are the worst, man. I get it. You try drinking water? Dehydration causes like 90% of headaches. Jake completed another squat. Also, you're tensing your shoulders. That can cause referred pain. Kelvin watched this interaction with the hollow-eyed stare of a medical professional whose entire understanding of biology had been shattered. His forearms hung limply at his sides. Sir, Pip wobbled up beside him, carrying a datapad. We've had 6 more admissions this morning. Should I prioritize them? Kelvin took the pad. His eyes scanned the list. Patient 1, Blorian with mild nausea, requesting emergency intervention. Patient 2, Quiletian with muscle soreness, demanding immediate pain management. Patient 3, Vrixian with a stubbed appendage, claims life-threatening trauma. Patient 4, Slick with aforementioned headache, currently receiving unsolicited fitness advice from human. He looked up at his medical bay. Really looked at it, for the first time. In Pod 3, a Quiletian was hooked up to every pain management system available, recovering from a routine injection. In Pod 5, A Blorian was receiving round-the-clock, monitoring for what amounted to mild indigestion. The emergency alert system was pinging constantly with requests for immediate care for conditions that would resolve on their own in hours. And in the corner, Jake Hoffman was doing stretches with injuries that should have him bedridden for weeks, offering encouragement to other patients like some kind of deranged motivational speaker. You know what helps with nausea? Jake was now telling a Blorian patient. Ginger, or peppermint. Also, sometimes you just gotta ride it out. I once had food poisoning that lasted 3 days. Still went to work on day 2 because we had a big deadline. The Blorian made a sound like a garbage disposal choking. Food poisoning? Pip gasped. That's a Category 4 medical emergency. Is it? Jake looked, genuinely surprised. I just thought it was, bad luck from sketchy street tacos. Kelvin walked slowly to his office. He sat down at his desk. He looked at his wall of certifications, his awards for medical excellence, his holographic display showing 47 perfectly calibrated species protocols. 47 species whose pain scales, he was beginning to realize, might be completely normal. It was the 48th that was absolutely insane. Sir? Pip had followed him. Are you all right? Pip, I need you to answer something honestly. When you experience discomfort, you report it accurately to medical personnel, yes? Of course, sir. That's what any rational being does. And when the slick warriors speak of their legendary pain tolerance, they mean they can endure slightly more discomfort than, say, a Quiletian? Yes, sir. Perhaps 10 to 15% more threshold before requesting intervention. Kelvin nodded slowly. And humans, who walked into my medical bay with catastrophic injuries and asked for coffee, who refused sedation for bone realignment, who are currently exercising with fractures. They're the aberration. Sir, I think aberration might be putting it mildly. Through the office window, they watched Jake finish his stretches and check his datapad. Hey, Doc, he called out. I've got those cargo routes to reschedule. How much longer you need me? Kelvin pulled up Jake's medical chart. According to every protocol he'd established over his entire career, Jake needed a minimum 2-week recovery period, possibly 3. According to Jake's actual physical performance, he was ready to leave now. Mr. Hoffman, Kelvin called back, his voice hollow. Your ankle is still severely sprained. Yeah, I'll wrap it tight and keep weight off it when I can. I've got compression boots on my ship. Works great. Your rib needs time to calcify properly. I'll sleep on my back, no problem. You have extensive internal bruising. Looks worse than it feels, honestly. Kelvin turned to Pip. Get me a direct line to the Galactic Medical Council. We need to update human medical classifications immediately. What should I tell them, sir? Tell them. Kelvin paused, watching Jake wave goodbye to the Eslick warrior and head toward the exit. Tell them humans don't have a pain tolerance. They have a pain indifference. And it's going to revolutionize our entire understanding of medical treatment, or give every doctor in the galaxy a psychological crisis. Can it be both, sir? Kelvin's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh, or a sob. It's definitely going to be both. 3 hours later, Kelvin stood before his holographic display, all 4 hands working simultaneously to input the new protocol. Pip hovered nearby, occasionally wobbling with what might have been moral support or suppressed panic. Protocol 48. Human medical treatment. Kelvin narrated as he typed. Rule 1. Disregard all patient. Self-assessment. Humans will lie. Sir, that seems harsh. Mr. Hoffman seemed honest. He was honest, Pip. That's what makes it a lie. He genuinely believed a fractured rib was not that bad. His honesty is medically inadmissible. Kelvin's upper hands continued typing while his lower hands pulled up reference data. Rule 2. Multiply all human pain ratings by a factor of 3.5. Minimum. Is that evidence-based, sir? Nothing about humans is evidence-based. I'm estimating conservatively. The medical bay doors opened one final time. Jake Hoffman stood there, wrapped, taped, and somehow looking healthier than when he'd arrived. He gave a cheerful wave. Got my discharge papers, Doc? Kelvin stared at him. This creature, this walking contradiction of biological sense, was about to return to active duty with injuries that would hospitalize any other species for weeks. And there was absolutely nothing Kelvin could do about it because, medically speaking, Jake was functionally fine. Mr. Hoffman, I'm mandating a follow-up examination in 1 week. Sure thing. If I'm in this sector, I'll swing by. Jake said this like he might not bother if it was inconvenient. It's not optional. Right. Mandatory. Got it. Jake definitely wasn't going to come back unless something fell off. Kelvin transmitted the discharge authorization with the resigned air of a doctor who'd lost an argument with evolution itself. Try not to do anything strenuous. You got it, Doc. Thanks for patching me up. You guys run a great facility here. Jake limped toward the exit, favoring his wrapped ankle by approximately 5%. As the doors closed behind him, Pip turned to Kelvin. Sir, should we be worried about humanity in general? I mean, if they're all like that. Kelvin looked at his newly created Protocol 48. He looked at his wall of certifications. He looked at the medical bay where 6 alien patients were still recovering from minor ailments, with full medical support, while 1 human had walked out with catastrophic injuries held together by tape and audacity. Worried? Kelvin's mandibles clicked softly. Pip, humans survived on a death world with 1 gravity, aggressive megafauna, and naturally occurring disasters that would sterilize most planets. They evolved persistence hunting, where they literally chased prey until it died of exhaustion. Their idea of recreation includes voluntarily jumping out of aircraft and running until their bodies physically shut down. And they think a fractured rib is not that bad. So, yes, we should be terrified, Kelvin said flatly. He added a final note to Protocol 48. Warning. Species demonstrates pathological pain tolerance. Recommend extreme caution in military applications. Do not arm unnecessarily. Pip deflated slightly. Do you think the Galactic Council knows what they've done? Inviting humans into the community? Kelvin pulled up the discharge report, watching the bellically. Tracker showed Jake's ship undocking from the station. Somewhere out there, Jake Hoffman was probably already lifting cargo he shouldn't be lifting, doing work he shouldn't be doing, being absolutely fine in ways that defied medical science. I think, Kelvin said slowly, the galaxy just got a lot more interesting, and a lot more dangerous. Because if humans consider broken bones a minor inconvenience. He trailed off, not wanting to finish the thought. Sir, what happens when they decide something is actually worth complaining about? The question hung in the sterile air of Medical Bay 7 like a prophecy. Somewhere in the station, an alert chimed. Another patient requesting emergency care for a hangnail equivalent. Kelvin looked at it, looked at his new Protocol 48, and made a decision. Pip, I'm taking a vacation. A long one, somewhere humans aren't. Sir, humans are spreading through the galaxy. They're everywhere now. Kelvin stared at his medical degree one last time. 47 species had made perfect sense. Number 48 had broken everything. Then I'm retiring. He never did, of course, but he thought about it every single time a human patient walked through his doors, which, unfortunately for his mental health, was becoming increasingly frequent.